There is a Latin proverb, Praemonitus, praemunitus. It gives a universal truth. To be forewarned is to be forearmed. Yahuwah knows this too. The prophet Amos declared, "Surely Adonai Yahuwah will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets." When a person is taken by surprise, he is typically caught unprepared. This is an important principle of warfare. The ancient Chinese general, Sun Tzu, included the element of surprise as one of the 5 essentials for victory. In his famous treatise on military strategy, The Art of War, Sun Tzu explained, "Engage people with what they expect. It is what they are able to discern that confirms their projections. It settles them into predictable patterns of response, occupying their minds while you wait for the extraordinary moment, that which they cannot anticipate." Satan also uses the element of surprise in his battle against Yah's people. Through erroneous beliefs, he deludes multitudes into postponing the second coming. Thus, they will be caught unawares and unprepared when the final volley of attacks are upon them. Yahuwah has given prophecy, so the final generation will not be taken by surprise. The prophecies of Scripture give extremely accurate information regarding the final crisis. According to Daniel, the world has been in the time of the end since 1798, and embroiled in the time of trouble since 1922. The same spirit of inspiration gave the prophecies of Daniel and Revelation. They cannot be separated. Revelation 13 presents a prophecy that ended in 1798. "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast." For 1,260 years, beginning in 538 CE, the Roman Catholic Church held despotic sway over the entire Christian world, and later sent its Jesuit priests to subjugate indigenous peoples the world over. This 1,260-year time period appears repeatedly in both Daniel and Revelation. It ended in 1798 when 2 things occurred. First, French General Louis Alexander Berthier took the Pope prisoner. Secondly, the atheist French government instituted a new calendar for the express purpose of de-Christianizing France by removing Sunday from the week. This is important because the Catholic Church has long claimed that the change of worship day from the Bible Sabbath to Sunday was her sign of authority. This twofold action delivered to the papacy the deadly wound, bringing to an end 1,260 years of papal supremacy. From 1798 on, the world has been in the time of the end. When the detailed prophecies of Daniel are correctly understood, they identify a series of events which culminated with the death of the Ottoman Empire in 1922. Daniel foretold, "At the time of the end shall the king of the south, Egypt, push at him the wilful king, France, and the king of the north, the Ottoman Empire, shall come against him like a whirlwind. Yet he, the king of the north, shall come to his end, and none shall help him. This is exactly what happened. The Ottoman Empire, that once mighty regime that had nearly brought Europe to its knees, came to its end, and none helped it. Just as, over a century before, General Berthier gave the papacy a deadly wound, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk gave to Islam a deadly wound. Ataturk abolished the Ottoman Sultanate, as well as the Islamic Caliphate, and established the modern Republic of Turkey. He modernized Turkey by secularizing it and deliberately distancing its laws from Islamic law. The Ottoman Empire, officially ending on November the 1st, 1922, was the king of the north coming to his end with none to help. This confirms beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are now in the time of trouble. It does so in 7 ways. First, the fulfillment of this prophecy, pinpointing 1922 as the commencement of the time of trouble, confirms to all honest minds the accuracy of all of Yahuwah's prophecies, and it does so in a very dramatic way. The fall of the Ottoman Empire is easily proven and well documented. Yah leaves nothing of such importance to be obscure and hard to establish. Secondly, the fulfillment of this prophecy establishes that the time of trouble commences with the fall of the Ottoman Empire, the king of the north. Daniel 11 closes by explaining that the king of the north shall come to his end, and none shall help him. The very next verse states, "And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was, since there was a nation, even to that same time." There is no lag time. Just as soon as the king of the north comes to his end, at that time there is a time of trouble such as never was. These words describe the times in which we are living like no other period in history. The 20th century saw the most wars and the most people killed by their own governments than at any previous time. It has been estimated that approximately 231 million people died in the last century alone. Other research claims 260 million individuals were killed by their own governments. Truly, the decades since 1922 have been a time of trouble such as has never been since there was a nation. Third, with the commencement date of the time of trouble firmly established, Yahuwah's people are protected from Satan's delusions that the end is not yet. Without this date, the time of trouble is repeatedly pushed off into the future. Sincere people look for false identifiers of where we are in the flow of history and are totally unaware that the time of trouble has already begun. Next, 1922 clearly distinguishes between the time of trouble spoken of in Daniel and that referred to by Yahushua in Matthew 24. They are not the same. Yahushua's prophecy in Matthew refers to the 1,260 years of papal persecution that ended in 1798 and signaled the beginning of the time of the end. He said, "Woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For then shall be great tribulation, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened." This earlier time of trouble was focused exclusively on Yahuwah's people. Those who conformed to the religion of the state or lived beyond its reach were unaffected by the intense persecution of this time of trouble. However, millions who refused to sacrifice their conscience to save their lives were martyred. Historians put the number of lives for which the Roman Catholic Church is responsible at a near incredible 50 million lost. This time of horrible persecution was cut short, just as Yahushua foretold. In 1773, Pope Clement XIV abolished the Jesuit Society. Shortly afterward, the wholesale slaughter of the Protestants came to an end. The Savior's prophecy was fulfilled to the very letter and offers a contrast to the time of trouble which began in 1922. Yahushua's time of trouble was limited to the Christian world and focused on all who fell afoul of the Roman Catholic Church. By contrast, Daniel's time of trouble encompasses the entire world, with millions who are not Christians still losing their lives in the wars, persecutions, and disasters that befall the world during this worldwide time of trouble, which is unprecedented in human history. This worldwide time of trouble will climax when the trumpets foretold in Revelation 8 and 9 begin to sound. We are now hovering just on the brink of these calamitous events because this current pope has a role to play in them, and he is already very elderly. During this period of time, the world will see a revival of the intense persecution that occurred during the 1260-year rule of Rome. Many righteous will lose their lives in defense of the truth. However, like the 1260-year time of trouble spoken of by Yahushua, this 1260-day time of trouble will also be cut off abruptly, or there would be no righteous left alive. The close of probation will cut off this intense 3.5-year period of persecution, after which none of Yah's people will lose their lives. The prophecy of the King of the North coming to his end in 1922 and the time of trouble starting reveals why the world has been in constant and increasingly intense crisis since 1922. According to Science Daily, the number of hurricanes in the Atlantic Ocean has doubled over the last century, and that's just hurricanes. The number, frequency, and severity of earthquakes has risen exponentially. In fact, of the 10 biggest earthquakes in recorded history, 9 of them occurred after 1922. The sheer number of deaths from wars, democide, genocide, and natural disasters since 1922 is unprecedented in history, and surely constitutes a time of trouble such as has never been. Daniel's prophecy provides a warning that the close of probation is not some future event in the distant future, never to occur in our lifetime. Rather, we are but moments to midnight. Probation will soon close, and we have not a moment to spare in getting our hearts ready. And finally, the extreme accuracy of the fulfillment of the King of the North coming to his end with none to help confirms that the few prophecies yet to be fulfilled will, in the same manner, be literally and accurately fulfilled. Because of our late hour, some of the prophecies can only be seen by the eyes of faith. But, as with all of Yahuwah's decrees, they shall be perfectly fulfilled at the time and in the manner prophesied. The time of trouble is not some future event. We are, even now, right in the midst of it. There are very few events left to occur, and those that are will wrap up in a very short time. don't be taken by surprise. Take the time now to learn the prophecies. It is Yahuwah's will that you know what is soon to break upon the earth with overwhelming force. For once the trumpets begin to sound, there will be no respite until the end. When Yahushua was asked to describe the end of the world just before his death, he gave the encouraging words, "When these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh." We are but moments to midnight. The end is much closer than you can even imagine.